Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. It's a full house here today. Holy, holy, two of my favorite guys in the whole world. I'm Dr. Laurie Davis, and you're listening to and watching The Today Show.
What's that? Good day,
What's that?
bud?
Good day, bud. Good day,
Good day,
bud.
bud. I go, what does that say?
Yeah,
It's
good
my
day, bud.
it's my daughter's brand, Doug Smith.
Yeah, Doug
Tuning in
Smith.
tuning in from Ottawa, actually downtown Ottawa. So I'm parked
Cool.
downtown Ottawa right now. Just got a great spot here. So I got a nice view. You don't have such a nice view, but I do.
All right. Well, my view is not too bad right now, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
All right. Doug is my guest today, and you are all familiar with Doug. He's the host of our show, The Press Box, and I get to sit and play and participate. And of course, our esteemed leader and founder, Jay Stoyan, is with us for a few minutes because he has some things he wants to share. So I'm just going to put the mic right over to him, do his thing, and then Doug, you and I can get on with our show. Over
Thanks,
to you,
Laurie.
Jay.
Thanks, Laurie. Thanks, Doug. Yeah, so first of all, I want to say two terrific press box shows with Jeff Brubaker and Tony McKegney. I watched the Jeff Brubaker show in its entirety this morning, so now it's promoted. We're showcasing all of our 15 plus multiple platforms, and Tony McKegney's up next. So great job, guys. Great job. Great interview. Really good. Really good.
Nice. It's just the beginning. Just the beginning, Jay.
This is a lot of fun. So I just want to update our viewers, and I'm going to pop off. I had a wonderful discussion surrounding and regarding the veterans today with City Councilor Matt Luloff out of Ottawa. This gentleman was a mover and a shaker, a lot of power. So he's going to help us continue to give more opportunities to veterans through employment and media and the Invictus Games. I told him about that. He's also a musician, so I'm going to be helping him get his music out there to the world and fellow musicians. It's amazing how much music helps veterans. It's just crazy. It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
There's a tie there. There's a link consciously that somehow that it fits with almost every one of them.
It does. Like there's so many musicians I meet are so many veterans I meet are musicians. Speaking about that on today. So today we have a packed show with our class, with our employment program. I'm going to hop off here and go into our veteran shows. We have two veterans. We have Jill, which obviously is part of the team here. And we have Fraser Newcomb. It's a very interesting dynamic. We have a female veteran from Alberta area, and we have a male veteran from the East Coast. I know Fraser's Navy. I'm not sure what Jill is, but I will find out. But I want to compare the female and male dynamics when you enter the service.
Oh, sure what a great idea.
Yeah. I think they're going to have a lot to share. And then we're going to open it up to our team. Our class. They're going to ask questions. And then afterwards, we have another show where we're going to be interviewing graduates from our class. So our new enrollment students get a feel for it, right? Get an idea of what to expect. The more comfortable they are, the better they're going to succeed. So, yeah, I just wanted to update you guys on today, what's going on, and so much more stuff. So I really thank you for letting me be on the show today.
You know what's amazing about what you just said? The Canadian Armed Forces, who I addressed at CFB Kingston, they're dealing with this gender issue right now. It's massive. So the gender issue is almost at the very top of the agenda. So that subject matter is really key. I think you should maybe expand that. I think people are very interested in how that's going to develop.
You know, I never really thought of attaching it to the gender world now, because like you said, it's like all over the place, right? So I was kind of going old school, like what it was like going back.
The leaders, in Kingston, they were listening to this person talk. It was a transgender individual who was a boy one day, a girl the next day, and then they were up there explaining how this whole process works, and it really confused and baffled the audience. These are a bunch of smart guys, 300 smart guys and gals. And they had trouble wrapping their head around it. Like, I got it, but I'm not immersed in their world, right? I'm not immersed in the military world, so I got it. So there's a layer that's the sort of a barrier in between society and the military. At least that's what I'm seeing at the front of the room, Jay. You may see this too.
Well, we're going to be going live on Facebook, so it'd be great for our viewers and all to interact, because I think it's a learning curve, right? Everybody's kind of learning. Nobody wants to be disrespectful or hurtful or abusive. At the same time, people just don't know. Some people just don't know. Like, oh my God, I grew up in the 70s. I don't know.
It's true. And so they don't say anything. So you lose their participation like that, because they're scared to say anything. And so, the education is so critical right now. Like, great call. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm going to pop off. Have a great show, and we'll see you later on today. We'll talk.
Yeah,
All right.
look forward to
Okay.
it. This is awesome. Keep her going, Jay.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
The day is set. Join us October 12th, 2024 at Carrigan Arms for our next fundraiser in honor of veterans, the Invictus Games in British Columbia, Canada, and TDC Employment Program Enrollment. For more information, email us at info@thedisabilitychannel.ca. We welcome you to advertise and promote your goods and services, and or brand your logo to 34 million subscribers on Canada Talks 167. Your investment will go towards our employment programs in the media industry for persons with disabilities and veterans.
I did do a show with 3 female veterans a while back,
Oh, yes, yes.
and interviewed them about what their experience was in the military as a woman in a male-dominated environment. It was pretty interesting. And, it was 2 sides of the fence. Some of the guys in their unit were always about keeping them safe. And then there were other guys in the unit that were always about keeping them in trouble and in danger. So
Yes,
it
of
created a
course.
rift within the male counterparts because, it was like the good guys and the bad guys. The good guys taking care of the girls, making sure they were safe and looked after, and then the other half messing with them. So it
Wow,
was,
yeah, the divide. Yeah.
so there's another rift, you see,
Well,
another
you can
division.
you can apply that divide, I think, across the whole thing, though. That exact
Yes.
divide. I think psychologically, it's
Yeah.
beating down self-worth, right? There's
Mhm.
a whole bunch of dynamics. Well, we're going to talk about that today, right? I mean,
Yes, we
we're here to
are.
talk about health, and I mean, what's more important than health, Laurie? I mean, really,
Nothing.
no.
Safety. That's all.
Yeah, yeah, and safety
Safety,
leads to health.
safety and health, number one. Hmm.
Yes,
Yes.
and so the dynamic in the healthcare system today, and I've lived in the healthcare system. Look, I woke up. Get this, I've woken up in the hospital 6 times in my life. Okay, so I've been taken to unconsciousness 6 times in my life and woken up, and then I had to rebuild from that first little blink of consciousness when my brain came back. I had to rebuild it all.
Yes.
Right, very, very slowly. One time it took me almost a year to be able to walk again. And so going from being unconscious or knocked out to consciousness is really the journey that we're going to take people on, because that process scales. It doesn't matter. The brain doesn't care whether it's trying to perform better or it's trying to recover after a bad injury. The brain only wants to get better. And so what science is finding and what neuroscience is finding is that process is becoming more and more predictable. So we're going to talk about that today so that we can give the audience a predictable model that they can think about, that they can meditate on, because if you're not meditating, you're not part of the program anymore. But we're going to give this to them and let them shake it around and listen to the results, and they're going to be phenomenal, Laurie. I've done this before, in fact, and everybody loves it. So let's talk a little bit about that. Like your area really is the area that everything starts, which is self-worth. The people out there that are turning this off right now or don't want to listen to what's being said about health right now, their self-worth is preventing them from sort of stepping into this environment. What would you say to that?
Well, most people are walking around not feeling that they even deserve to be well. And I often have shared this with people who provide health products, vitamins, all of the stuff that we can do alternatively to physically get well. But the barrier that needs to be broken is the fact that that person needs to know that they deserve to be well. So there's a huge block there in terms of people accessing things to make them better. And you're right, it comes down to that the only thing maybe they think they deserve is to be sick. But I have a question for you based on
Yeah.
what comment you made about, waking up 6 times.
Mm.
I believe yours was a physical injury that, created that. But do you think there are people walking around unconscious, even if they've not ever been injured physically?
Trauma is trauma is trauma. Physical,
Right.
psychological. It's all connected by consciousness. Consciousness connects the physical to the psychological.
Yeah.
That's the model. For everybody that's listening, like I can go now, if you just follow up on this, okay? So consciousness is a band that ties the physical to the psychological. Without it, our physical and psychological don't work together. So we don't work out. We feel shitty about ourselves. Now,
Right.
if you tie the two of them together and we begin to understand how that ring of consciousness holding these two things together, which we can measure now. It's being
Yeah.
measured, and later in the show, I'll show you exactly where to find the measuring tool. Exactly
Oh,
where to find it. You can go online, just like that. You can pick it up.
wow. Yes. So how does that fit into, let's say, good versus evil? Um,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
feel-
So you're either hurting your performance or you're helping your performance.
there you go.
There's no inertia,
Right.
right? So if you're an individual or a business, it works the same way. You might think you're helping yourself by doing certain things, but the ramifications of what you're doing could be hurting you.
Yes.
Right, you don't
Well,
know, you need another set of eyes in business, like
oh,
in
yeah.
business today, the sole purpose of a leader is to turn two people into six by working with the space in between those two people.
Hmm.
That's the only, if you want to be a leader today, forget about all the things that just turn two into six human resources, very expensive human resources, by understanding the physics behind what you're doing. If you're a leader and you want to do something else, you want to be in charge of marketing, then go do that.
Right. Well, you know what happened in my world when I was involved in sales and marketing, and I was a very good high producing salesperson. But the company made the grand mistake of taking their best salespeople and turning them into management,
Mm,
because that's how you got to be up the ladder. Your
yes.
productivity got you up the ladder, but that doesn't necessarily mean, like, perhaps I should have just stayed in sales where I excelled. You see?
We were taught this society right now, the leaders in it were taught that if you stood 6 inches higher than somebody else inside the room, you were the most important person in the room. And so
Wow.
they would elevate you to management so you would be one step above everybody else. It was a physical recognition. There
Yes.
was no psychological application here. It was look at the physical and then behave this way, be programmed like robots. But now, because human resources are so expensive and because change is happening so fast, you work with the space in between two people and you turn those two people into six people, and you do it with everybody in your company.
Right.
And the way to do it, like I don't want to get into the business side of it today. We're here to talk about the individual side. See, you can't go from intrinsic motivation to extrinsic motivation. So we're going to talk about intrinsic motivation today, and then we'll do another show. We'll talk about the extrinsic part, right? The physics of taking this out of yourself and moving it into the world so that you can lead, or you can be the best person at what you do. Now, this is the starting point for the individual, in my opinion. Now, I've woken up 6 times, and here I am talking about this, and working with one of the best broadcasters in the world. But don't pay any attention to me. Okay, so the Inner Physician and You by John Upledger. He founded the Brain and Spinal Cord Dysfunction Center in Palm Gardens, Florida. This saved my
Wow.
life. This saved my life. When I say life, not to help me breathe, but I would have been in a wheelchair for life if I didn't learn this. And every time I injure myself, and I still do, and so will you need to recover. And if you don't have a doctor, like a family doctor, you're paying for it. And I've been able to heal myself over and over and over and over. And I won't get into the details, but it's a very short read. Once you start reading Your Inner Physician and you will change. You won't have a choice but to change or decide to stay the same. right?
Exactly.
That's and so somebody showed me this and worked on me. And what happened was after I broke my neck and I was in a hospital bed for almost a year, the unwinding that my physical body had to do after that experience of a broken neck, spinal cord injury, being in a hospital bed for a year, living in the rehab center, I finally got in the hands of somebody who knew how to allow me to allow my body to unwind. And the experience was phenomenal. It was absolutely phenomenal. It put me back in the hospital. The injuries I suffered because I was paralyzed were sending me back to have to go through that injury again. And so I went through the injury again without feeling the paralysis, but the pain. My whole body seized up like when I was in ICU after I'd broken my neck. I was in ICU for 3 days and they were pumping me full of morphine. And when I was treated with craniosacral therapy, I went back through it and ended up like back in that situation. But when somebody was with me explaining to me how the process worked, I was able to manage it because I could see the light on the other side. See, people want to get better, but they don't want to feel any of the pain that requires them to get better.
Precisely.
I love it when I say stuff that Laurie Davis agrees with.
I
Tell me about what you think of that, right?
Well, it's true. Like I have clients who say, because we all are busy recovering from our childhood. I don't care. And
Of
um,
course.
the MP and adults will say to me, "Well, I don't really want to go there. I don't want
No.
to go there." And I said, "Well, if you don't go there one more time, there's nothing we can do to heal that."
Well, I would say, my wife was saying to me, maybe you don't go there, but maybe maybe that's the reason you don't walk. And so that was a big enough reason, right? I wasn't
Right.
walking. It's like
Right.
this person needs to come and see you. And all the stuff I had learned and all the stuff I've been taught about the traditional way of medicine and all that stuff got completely blown out of the water because I needed to learn how to walk again. The
Right.
reason I had was big enough. And that's the question individuals listening to this have to know is the reason you're doing it big enough? I mean, you know what you have to change, but it's the reason that you're doing it. Get a bigger reason is my recommendation.
Exactly.
Yeah, like, look at the kids, look at the grandkids,
Yeah,
it's an exciting time.
exactly. And anything's possible.
Yes,
And
and and I'm gonna introduce you to somebody, a friend of mine, and I'm gonna share with you some of his work right here. It's called Unlocking the Brain.
yes, go for it.
Yeah.
Share that.
Okay. So we're gonna go deep inside you right now. Okay. So everybody understands when your brain is working, it gets coded first, and then consciousness occurs. So coding, your brain gets coded. Okay,
Right.
linear coding. Okay, this is like an encyclopedia. It's crazy. Written by Dr. Georg Northoff at the Royal Ottawa. He's a friend of mine. Then the brain becomes conscious. See the waves going into the brain?
Mm-hmm.
And so consciousness occurs after coding. So that means, Laurie, that means specifically from a scientific perspective, we cannot prevent becoming what we're around.
That's right.
So
Precisely.
we become what we're around. And what Georg is now working on, and I go to georgnorthoff.com, northoff.com, is a new book called Neurowaves, which just came out. And you can go to Georg, it's George without an E, Northoff as it sounds.
Okay.
And he's a superstar. So Georg is the Wayne Gretzky of the psychiatry and neuroscience community because he has he has 3 PhDs. He's an MD, a psychiatrist, and a neuroscience, and a PhD in neuroscience.
Mm-hmm.
So he was recruited from Germany to come to Canada to run the Royal Ottawa Mental Health Center and to head up the neuroscience department at Ottawa University. And we're going to have him on the show. I talked to him a couple of weeks ago and he said, yeah, we just got to schedule it. I think he's over in Europe right now. And I'm like, Georg, what do you mean you're over in Europe? You got to be here telling everybody else, everybody about this, you know? And so,
Right.
I want to find out really clearly, like how far we want to get this message out, because it's so valuable.
How do you spell his name? I'm going to put a banner up.
Oh,
I got the
yeah.
first name.
George
I got,
without the E. So
yeah,
Georg
yes,
Northoff, Northoff. Just north off, would you?
yeah, exactly.
So this is very exciting. Like the story, the science, the solutions. For 12 years, Laurie, I've been writing books on trauma, trying to figure out how to make it easy for people. And I've just finished boiling down 7.5 hours of footage my dad recorded into a whole bunch of clips of, goals scored, fights had, assists, a whole bunch of stuff, a whole bunch of players, and we're gonna follow that with this message. The message of hockey is fun for a minute, right? It's like gambling. It's fun for a minute. But it doesn't really take you anywhere, right? It sort of drops you off, and then you're standing somewhere and you don't even know where you are. But when you follow this stuff, what happens is you become younger,
Right.
right? And we were talking about another company that you find very interesting, out of the University of Montreal, right? You mentioned this before. This company that's modifying the brain by using multiple object tracking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all this stuff is almost a secret to the rest of the world. But as soon as they have self-worth, they go, bingo, I need something else to make me even better than self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense?
Well, the thing is, you know what, Doug? 30 years ago, when I started my quest on this path of self-worth, people thought I was talking Chinese. Like they didn't know, um, because there had never been anything written about it. There'd never been a paper, and there was no research. I had to do all that and create all that. And I had a theory and it was a theory. It's not a theory anymore because I've proven my theory after 30 years that if you don't love who you are, you've got nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You can have all the money in the world, the best house in the world, the greatest relationship that you think is great in the world,
Mm-hmm.
and all the toys and all that kind of stuff. But I know that if we truly fall in love with who we are and stop criticizing ourselves and judging ourselves and not feeling confident and being scared and anxious, we won't ever do anything to hurt ourselves.
Yeah, and we will also nurture our consciousness. That gives us
Exactly.
permission. So self-worth, in my opinion, gives us permission to nurture our consciousness, to be positive instead of negative, to be good instead of bad, because there's no inertia. You can't just pick good out of the hat and go, I'm being good. No, your actions don't dictate that.
Yeah. Well, I have people say to me, "Oh, Laurie, I'm good. Like my self-worth is intact." And I go, "I'm sorry, but your life is not reflective of that. The evidence isn't there." I like evidence. That's why I like the scientific side of things too, because I want to see
Mhm.
the evidence. So
Yeah.
your lifestyle is not reflective of someone who has their self-worth intact.
Yes. Agreed. And some of the examples of self-worth I can give you related to trauma. Here's an example of self-worth. So the third time I woke up in the hospital was after a head-on collision on a motorcycle with a car going 80 kilometers an hour, 50 miles an hour. And this is when I was playing for the Buffalo Sabres. The car turned at the very end and I went shoulder first into the rear quarter panel. And I flipped end over end for 110 feet and I landed in the ditch. And I had so much self-worth that when I came conscious about 5 minutes later, I got up and I struggled into a car that was just coming by. They had stopped because they had seen the accident, and I crawled into their back seat and I told them where to take me. I don't remember any of it. This is just all like, that's belief in self. Belief in self runs when you're not conscious.
Exactly.
You know, and that's what I found from that motorcycle accident. I did a whole bunch of things that my brain, like, I mean, I was so impacted, and I had broken my scapula, and my scapula is a big shoulder blade, and the bottom half of it was completely rotated upside down.
Ooh.
And so when they operated on me, they had to cut me from the neck all the way to the tip of the shoulder,
Oh.
peel back my whole back, spin that piece of bone around, and then put a plate and 6 screws. They're Robertson screws, because I know that, because when I get x-rays of it, I can still see that they're Robertson screws. And I got back to playing in the NHL after that.
Wow.
You know, and it wasn't because I knew the way. It was because I was doing something that consciously that I was, I was
Well,
just unaware of, right?
yes. And some people call that an out of the body experience
Mm.
because you know all the right things to do without having to think it through. So that happened to me when my first husband was dying in a pool of blood. I knew everything what to do. And I did all the right things, but I don't remember or recall a lot of it. I do some of it. And I'm the kind of girl, as a school teacher, if a little kid came in with a little cut in their finger or a little scratch on their head, I had to get somebody else to put the Band-Aid on
Mm.
because of my lack of wanting to work with blood, So
But
I go,
in
"Ooh,
that situation, something just clicked into gear. Your consciousness, your
yes,
awareness clicked into gear to save a life.
yes,
And isn't that the way we should behave all the time, as if we're
yes,
saving a life?
yes,
Like, that's the enthusiasm that I try to have. Like, I mean, I was never this way. I was always worried what people were saying about me, and I was always worried I wasn't measuring up, because maybe I missed on the penalty shot, the other night,
yeah,
you know. So I didn't used to think that way, but now it's like, it there's no reason in the world that you can't be ultra uber positive every single second that you're with other people. There is no reason in the world. It doesn't matter how bad the situation is. Positivity isn't jumping around like a maniac lunatic.
yeah.
Positivity is just being there in the moment and aligning with other people's consciousness. That's all it is. And
Mhm.
and if you stand out, well, one of the behaviors I teach in my meditation series and in my books is emotional control, because it was the hardest one for me to learn, and I still fail at it. I open my mouth and I say something to somebody I shouldn't say it to, and I'm like, I did it yesterday, and then I lie in bed awake at night and I worry about, why the heck did I not exercise better judgment and use the tools that I'm actually teaching. So when you learn these things, and you use them and you get positive results, you're less likely, I find, to drift back to the old ways. But you do go back there every now and then, so don't worry about that. I think that's
Yeah,
the lesson.
it's called a relapse.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's an
true.
exciting, such an exciting time for this space, and especially for athletes. Now
Mhm.
we have other shows happening during the week as well. Maybe you could tell everybody how this has expanded. It's quite fascinating. I find it amazing.
Well, we just got started, in May. And of course, I got to know about the Disability Channel through your opportunity with them. They had invited you to be a host of a sports show. And we have that once a week called the Press Box. And then when
Tuesdays at 1 p.m.
Tuesdays
Tune in.
at
Yeah.
1 p.m. Eastern time. We had a terrific. Oh, by the way, Tony called me yesterday after the show. We talked for another half hour.
Tony
And
McKegney, third black player to ever play in the NHL, and
yeah,
go online and look at his stats. Yeah, and so
yeah.
he
And
called
he
you
called me.
yesterday.
I
Oh,
was
I'm so
having my
happy.
lunch. Yeah, and I was on the deck having my lunch and phone rings. And I thought, who's that? International call. And then I recognized his number because I remember numbers. And so I thought, oh, that's Tony. So I hope he's watching today. And so, yeah, so we have the press box on Tuesdays, and we started in May. And then when Jay saw me on the show with you, he asked me if I would like to co-host the Today Show once a week with him.
Awesome, awesome.
And I said, no, I'm not doing that.
Oh,
And he said, why? I said, well, I'm either on 5 days a week or I'm not on at all.
Wow.
Yes, that's how that happened.
Bold move. You moved your
He said,
queen right
you
there.
want to do a show every day? I said, well, that's what I'm used to. And that's how you build momentum. And that's how you get to meet more people more quickly and get sponsors. And, it's so one of the things on Monday, of course, we do empowerment, self-worth, self-care. I mean, Doug, you could fit in all 5 categories.
Wow, but it's got to be for the audience. The Monday is
Oh,
crucial. That's why we put it on Monday, because if you're going to do
yes.
it, do it. Who cares if it's Monday or Sunday or Wednesday or Friday?
Yeah.
It
But
doesn't
what a
make any
great way to
difference.
start the week.
Yeah, get it going. Look at yourself. I mean, you look in
Right.
the mirror every morning. I mean, maybe you
Yeah.
don't, but do it.
But we
Come on now.
actually pull from our resources, to do that show.
What
And
time? What
Virginia
time is
Clark,
it on? What time is it on?
it's on at 9 a.m., which is
Yep.
11 a.m. your time.
Okay.
And Virginia is my co-host. And we all know her just most recent story, recovery story from breast
Oh,
cancer.
please
Oh,
tell it. Tell you mentioned it to me, and I hit the floor. I was so blown away, and I've told like 20 people already. So, and they don't even know her, I've met her, and I love her. But please tell the audience how it
well,
went.
well, when it comes to Virginia too, you and I on the 15th of September are hosting a fundraiser online for Virginia because she
Excellent.
hasn't worked in months and
Hmm.
they depend on her income to support the family.
Yes.
But anyway, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, a very rare form of breast cancer, by the way. And I went with her the day that she had her surgery, and her husband was there, and we got her through that. And when they went in to remove this tumor, it wasn't even a tumor anymore. It was a shriveled up little piece of nothingness, like a pea. And then they pumped dye into her lymph nodes to make sure that there were no spreading. And she got her results back, and there's not a trace of cancer in her body.
How long did it was 2 years, and just changing the thought patterns, the belief in
Yeah,
self,
she'd
the
been
self-worth, the diet. Like what were
everything.
the changes? What were the changes?
Everything. Well, she took care of herself. She came to all of our meetings on Monday night. She stayed in the loop. She stayed in the group on the show with me. And she told us if it had not been for me loving who I am and knowing that I deserve to be healthy, 4 years ago, before I got clean and sober, I'd have just hit the bar and probably would have drank myself to death because I would have perceived that as a death wish. Because
See,
a lot
yeah,
of women don't get through breast cancer.
if you're listening to this show right now,
Yeah.
like you shout out to us, because what Virginia did with Laurie can be duplicated so quickly,
Mhm.
like I know, because I've taken the
Mhm.
workshops, and I know how quickly they snap things into place, and then you start making better decisions, and there's
Yeah.
a cascade, right? Once you start believing in yourself, and you develop that self-worth. So make Laurie Davis's phone ring. Professional athletes are calling her all the time, right?
Yeah, no kidding, eh?
Yeah.
So, I don't like to talk about Virginia. She's not here to defend herself, but I know she'd be all right with all of that. And then Wednesday we have wellness. And so that's why I wanted you on the wellness show, because you have a vast knowledge of so many areas of wellness because of what you've had to come through yourself. So
Well,
you can
and
speak with credibility.
well, you know what? I just want to share with people that it's possible.
Yeah.
That they can get access to things easily that they couldn't get access to before. Things that actually don't hurt
Work.
you, okay? Maybe they don't work, but they don't hurt you. And you could try several of those things till you find something that works for you, as
Right.
opposed to take this till you can't think anymore.
Yeah,
You know what I
exactly.
mean? And I've taken all those medications. I've tried the stuff that's been banned. I was on, speaking of addiction, I was on 50 milligrams of morphine a day for almost 250 milligrams, and then 50 milligrams of halcyon. And if you look up halcyon, Halcyon, it's a knockout drug that was banned about 4 years after they were giving it to me to help me sleep. And
Oh,
I used to sit in the halo when I broke my neck, and I used to take this pill, hit the timer, and sit on the couch and see how long I could stay awake without blacking out. And it was about 8 minutes, 9 minutes, and it was like unconscious. And
Holy.
I was taking it just so I could get rest.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I forgot where I was going with the drug part, but
That's
anyways,
okay. That's okay. So wellness, that's why you're here today. And then on
yeah.
Thursdays, we do special communities. So the indigenous community, the veterans community, the disabled community. And we bring people in from very what I call special interest groups to talk about where they're at. And Jill Younghusband co-hosts with me on that show, usually every Thursday when we have veterans on.
Oh,
Yeah.
excellent.
And then
Excellent.
Friday is fun day because it's been pretty serious all week. So let's just lighten up.
Tell us about the fun day. Okay, so what do we bring in? Cirque du Soleil
Well,
presenters?
not
What do we
yet,
do?
but you could probably make a phone call and get that done for us.
You know what I got today? Just so everybody knows, I practice
Yeah.
what I preach.
Talk about this.
I play table tennis, and table tennis is the best game in the world for your brain because it builds spatial capacity.
Oh,
So
wow.
when you track a ball really quickly, and it's unpredictable, but you gotta guess where it's going, and that your brain speeds up. Actually, okay, it's called spatial capacity. And when your brain speeds up, it does fast things. Maybe you go to a track and drive a car really fast over and over and over again. It begins to adjust to that speed. And then spatial capacity is directly related to neurocognitive ability. So they run in the same camp. And so when
Okay.
you increase spatial capacity, you become smarter. So if you want to be smarter, more intellectual, play a game like table tennis, or you can spin the frisbee on your finger, which I can actually do in the car.
Right.
I'm proficient with a frisbee. So I was given this gift by my mother and my grandfather because they both had it, to understand spin. Anything that spins around us. If you want to spin a car around, frisbee around, ball around, I can see the spin on the ball and know where the ball is going to bounce. So where people couldn't see the spin, I could see the spin. So when you want to teach your kids, if you have kids that are athletes, okay, all you got to do is teach them about spin and spatial capacity. Balls flying around fast, which allows you to be able to take a snapshot of where things are moving, look away, come back, and know where all those moving parts are going to be. That's what Wayne Gretzky had, okay? And I played 75 games facing off against Wayne Gretzky. He had spatial capacity like nobody I've ever seen. It was almost like he had hairs on his body that he could feel you getting close to him, and he would move directly away from you, like systematically. And I was excellent at hitting and crushing guys, 185 pounds and fast. And I think I hit him once or twice in 75 games, and I was trying
Wow.
to hit the guy. And I only saw him knocked out once. Dave Taylor knocked him out clean. And we spent the next 40 minutes of that game like in bench clearing brawls. And they don't even put these things up on the internet anymore because Google doesn't want to see them. They're so disgusting.
Well, I love this thing about the table tennis, and thinking about you told me that get your kids playing this and they'll get smarter.
Oh my God! I learned to play with one of the top players. He went pro, my friend. We grew up 2 doors apart. I stumbled into table tennis, but the Ottawa Table Tennis Club where I play, Steve and Priyanka. Priyanka is the best player in Ontario. Steve has run the club. There's 12 tables. I mean, I'm an intermediate senior guy. I enter tournaments, but I do this because it doesn't take much time. It's not expensive to do. Like, try paying
Right.
for 2 kids to go play hockey. This is going to help them just as much. This and the other sport I really got to mention every time I talk to an audience is for your health is lacrosse.
Ah,
Is because lacrosse is an extension of the human hand. Because they just give you a stick with a hand on the end. Right? And if you
yes.
can use that extension of the human hand, and that was really my game. I went pro in hockey. second pick overall. So that's how good I was in hockey. I was a way better lacrosse player. And lacrosse came first in my life. And I'm actually suggesting to my daughter with my grandkids, let's get them out of soccer potentially, or supplement with lacrosse so that they can be more involved in the play, because soccer is a very you got to think all the time, right, about what you're doing, and the ball's way over there, and there's way too much alone time for me anyways. Like I lacrosse is in between sort of hockey and soccer. That's where I would put it. But I think it's probably the ping pong and lacrosse. If you get your kids into that, they'll end up being the best hockey players,
Wow.
and the best athletes, and they'll be good academically. And I'll share with people. I met Gordie Howe. I didn't get to play against him. I missed him by 1 year. He presented me in junior hockey, because this is how this stuff works, right? This is what you get, with the Academic Achievement Award for the best marks in the in the Ontario Junior Hockey League. I won the Bobby Smith Award my second year as a 17-year-old. And that was from lacrosse and table tennis and support and belief, and
Yeah.
my dad buying the best equipment that he could buy me.
Yeah.
Right? You don't say don't think even for a second, oh, my kid is so good, it might make it to the NHL or might make it to pro this or pro that. Make sure that you get them the best equipment that you can get them. Give them the tools that they need, and they'll figure it out.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't matter what sport it is. The best equipment makes a big difference, and then teach them how to respect that equipment. I still have a baseball glove that I pitched. I was a hardball pitcher, and I still have that baseball glove, and I still treat it every year because my dad told me, it's a DH, a beautiful glove, and I can go out and play ball with it like tomorrow, just like I did when I was a kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I just recommend this stuff. It's like a soldier
Yeah,
taking care of the shoes. You know what I mean?
that's right. That's right. Well, one of our veteran guests, Mark Gerard, you'll meet him, and he just finished his retreat work, and he said, "I've been in the military all my life. My dad was in the military. Who do you think spit shone his shoes?"
Oh, there you
I knew
go.
how to do that before I ever joined the military myself. But you see, that's called what you're talking about, and what Mark mentioned. That's all about mentoring.
Yes.
And our parents are our most impressionable teachers. So if my parents are drinking and partying, and the kids are up late and there's no supervision and it's just willy-nilly, we grow up thinking that's perfectly normal,
Yeah. Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though it's counterproductive.
And then there's the other people who are ready to go. Like, we got to be ready to go tomorrow.
Yeah,
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 it's like we can't do this because this is going to compromise that.
right.
Right?
Always
They're
trading
not.
off.
Yeah, they're not excited about it as much. And one of the situations that I wrote an article about, and if you go to LinkedIn, I have tens of thousands of followers, but connect to me please on LinkedIn. I always speak to people, but I posted on LinkedIn the bleeding that we're doing. It's called The Bleeding That We're Doing, and it's about the sports world embracing gambling. Like, it's embracing gambling. Like, it's almost like we think that getting kids addicted to gambling, the more addicted we get them, the better. It's an insane phenomenon that I'm witnessing, and I feel paralyzed, like because I picture in my head like 100,000 kids sitting there watching this every single commercial, because there's no other commercials anymore.
Yeah.
Are you witnessing this?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so like, what, maybe we could get some feedback from people in our audience on what we can actually say or do about this, because there's no, okay, decline is not linear. Okay, so when the human species, individually or together, decline, it's not a linear decline.
Mhm.
It goes a little bit down, and then it's a freaking cliff.
Right.
It's the same when you want to get out of the hole you're in.
Right.
It's not linear. It hurts at the beginning, and it's a slow climb, but then it goes like this.
Right.
And that's what's
Yes.
happening. That's what's happening with sports and gambling right now. You know, it's like it seems to be going like this, but I don't know what the drop off point is, because like I don't think as a human species we've ever seen this before. Where would we have seen this before? How are we going to learn not to be like crazy?
Well, what's that definition of insanity? And this goes back to your leadership chat and the way that people behave. You know, me telling parents, stop raising children in a world that no longer exists. And it's all about being
Yes,
conscious, being
being
conscious.
conscious. Here's an article that comes from my work, written
Okay.
by one of the leaders in culture. Guess what, everybody?
We're not in Kansas anymore.
We're not in Kansas anymore. And
Can
if
you read the first paragraph? Can you
we
read the
have
first paragraph?
entered, I will, we have entered a new world and rules have changed. The world is entering its fourth industrial revolution, often called Industry 4.0. While Western economies ruled the first three industrial revolutions, the economies that will dominate a 4.0 world are unknown. The future is up for grabs. The question is, what will the differentiator be for winning organizations? Okay, so the organizations will win this war because they'll learn, whatever country learns how to work with the space in between two human beings, use the neuroscience, use the consciousness, whoever figures this out, this is what this is about. Okay, it's easy. I'll refer it to you if you want this. We're not in Kansas anymore. It's 4 pages long and it'll transform your life. When you go to work, you'll see work completely different after you read this, because you'll want to be involved in the future. You're just not aware of what's happening and how it's going to happen. And neuroscience and physics. Okay, so if somebody says, well, I don't really buy into that, it's not really going to happen that way, it can't be predictable, and you go against the neuroscience and the physics, like, I'm not going to jump off the cliff with you. I'm like,
We'll just
you don't have a
watch.
parachute.
We'll just stand by and watch you burn and crash.
Well, you don't have a parachute. You shouldn't be jumping. I would say you don't have a
Yeah.
parachute. You shouldn't be jumping off that cliff. But I'm not going to tether myself to you. That's definitely for sure. So it's becoming easier for practitioners if they want to learn, but they're so busy treating people the way we used to treat them. There's lots of opportunities for practitioners in this space, for people to participate in helping other people without having to have a medical degree.
Right.
You know what I mean? You don't need a medical degree to understand this stuff. If your arm is falling off, you know it. That's a catastrophic physical trauma. Go see a doctor. I have no idea how to put your arm back on.
Right. Exactly.
Right? That's catastrophic physical. Catastrophic emotional, you can't hide it. But I tell you, I'm not equipped personally without a degree to help you with catastrophic emotional trauma. I can support you and carry things for you, but that's a tough place to play, right? When you lose a spouse or you lose a child or you have a car accident like that, that's crazy stuff. Now you have cumulative emotional, you have catastrophic emotional trauma. You have cumulative physical trauma and cumulative emotional trauma. Cumulative physical trauma is the trauma you get from hitting your head with a soccer ball over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know it's doing damage. It's proven. You just look at the studies, but you keep doing it over and over and over again. And then you've got cumulative emotional trauma. And that fourth type of trauma, we can't see it and we can't smell it. It happens to us based on the laws that we're governed by and the people and the decisions we decide to embrace. And so the decision-making process is getting simpler and simpler, and AI is going to help us with that. It's going to help us become more conscious, because here's the one thing that AI doesn't have. It doesn't have consciousness to work with. I'm not saying that it won't, but consciousness is going to take AI a tremendous amount of time to figure out. And without consciousness, you don't have the psychological binding itself to the physical, right? So you don't have that explosion, right? And so we've got time to figure all this out. It's going to become really clear because consciousness is becoming the subject matter in Asia for AI development.
Ah,
Right. So they want to know all about, oh, well, how's it going to affect AI? Well, we'll show you how it's going to affect AI.
yeah.
I'll show you papers and books how it's going to affect AI. And you can settle your nerves when you understand this, that AI isn't going to take over, because without consciousness, there is nothing.
That
No
is correct.
consciousness, it's dead. Right. So, but let's not work really hard to give it consciousness. How about that?
Yeah, there we go.
You
We've
don't
got
want
other
to.
things to do. We've got better
Yeah.
things. We've got bigger fish to fry, right?
Well, your phone is almost conscious now, because half the time it's writing down or listening to what it's listening all the time, right?
Hmm. Yes.
So we're trying to give this technology consciousness, right? But
Yeah.
and we don't like it, but we still keep trying to give it to it.
Yeah. There we go. How crazy is that?
It's
But you
nuts.
know, the first person that I ever heard say, "You become what you are around," was a motivational speaker. He's passed now, Zig Ziglar. He shared
Yes.
that 40 years ago. He was
Yes.
saying that.
Yes, and
And
he
you
I
are the
learned it. I
total,
learned it from Zig.
yeah,
I learned it from Zig, and the pump. You know, you got to keep
yeah,
that water
priming the
pump
pump.
going, because if you stop pumping, the water's going to go back down. If you
Yeah,
haven't listened to Zig Ziglar, I tell you, if you haven't listened to The Pump by Zig Ziglar, you need to just Google it and sit down for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And it's
yeah,
like, it's so simple.
yeah. And he was saying these things 40 years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Oh, yeah. And guys like, I want to recognize somebody. He's a good friend of mine, and we're talking about some of his work, but I want to recognize Ron Weens, who's, you know, made a career. He's retired now, but he works with me from time to time. But he's made a career of doing massive turnarounds with government organizations and NGOs, and like places like Microsoft UK. You
Cool.
know, where I think even today, if you're a woman and you have a baby, you know, it's an unwritten rule that you're gonna, leave the company. Right. And so changing cultures is what Ron did. And you can find Ron at Ron W IENS, ronweens.com. And if you want to download, We're Not in Kansas Anymore, or any of the other papers, what Ron and I did was, I wrote the trauma code, and then he wrote a book called Big Building Organizations That Leap Tall Buildings in a Single Bound. And the books were written, one to work on intrinsic motivation and one to work on extrinsic motivation. So if you pick up Ron's book, and you've already got mine, the trauma code, then this building organizations that will snap right in. And we've got some really great examples of individuals that by 40 they've hit $1 billion in sales. So it's crazy how this stuff works, Laurie. Like, I just
Oh,
want everybody to learn about it.
absolutely. All right. Well, Doug, you know what? Our time is nearly up. And I just want to thank you very much for supporting this show by
Oh, I
being
love
a
it.
guest on this show. And of course, those 5 categories that I talked about, you can fit into any one of those, because I know you like to have fun and you come from the disability community, even though nobody would ever know. Um, you've been there, done that already. So welcome, and we'll have you back. And thank you so much.
And thanks, Ray. And just to finish off, like, it's very
Yes.
exciting that the Disability Channel and is going forward with the Invictus Games, and that they've got cohorts of veterans going through, which is a phenomenal story, right? If you're a veteran out there and you want to learn about media, like, just give us a call, right? We'll
Mhm.
plug you right in, and get you into a program that's provincially funded, and get you going in media, and maybe you'll get to the Invictus Games, come and do some filming. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just to become more
absolutely.
aware. Okay,
What an
great.
opportunity, right?
Yeah, it's massive.
Lots of opportunities here. Lots and lots and lots and lots. All right. Well, let's have a great rest of the day. And I'm going to get my hair done. And then I'm going, I made a big pile of food last night because we're going out to the campground. Our kids are out there, adopted kids, really. and
Oh,
he's
great.
home for 2 weeks, and they're out there camping all week long. So we're going to go out and we're taking dinner for 20 people. So Ron and I cooked all day yesterday, and we'll be feeding the family this afternoon.
Oh, that's fantastic. Have an amazing time. That's
We
great. And
will.
how's the weather? Is the weather okay out
Yeah,
there?
it's nice. It's been nice. It's a little
Good.
cloudy right now, but by
Good.
4 o'clock, it'll be sunny again, right? That's how it
Well,
goes.
have fun out there in Drayton Valley. We'll take care of things here in Ottawa. You know, like Jay was mentioning, there's some government issues and he's
Yeah.
dealing with. So yeah, we'll have some fun breaking down some doors, huh?
Yeah, you bet. Slaying dragons.
Yeah, that's right.
Good
G'day,
day,
bud.
bud. Okay. Bye for now.
See you later, Laurie.
We'll be back tomorrow with veteran Luciano Nisi and Jill Younghusband, and we're going to be talking with Luciano tomorrow. So, all right. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Politics get in the way. Freedom is the price I pay. I'll be long gone. On a distant mountain top, neither side is willing to stop. I'll be long gone. Held hostage to wishful thinking, mama, yeah. Bullets travel in a straight line. Nothing can change this heart of mine. Don't think I'll survive beneath the velvet sky. Ooh. Know that I'm out here for a reason, yeah. Hard to understand just why. Everything I have today, out here on the barren plain, time to move on. Outside of the line, I swear, road used to be right there. Now it's all gone. All gone. Still held hostage to wishful thinking, mama, yeah. No life travels in a straight line. Nothing can change this heart of mine. Don't think I'll survive beneath the velvet sky. Ooh. Know that I'm out here for a reason, yeah. Hard to understand just why. Just why. That's why.